Hello and welcome to next That Spotlight. I would like to welcome on my left John and on my right Kai from Kalamba Games. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Where are you coming from? Where are you based?
So I'm based in the UK, but had a pretty mad week this week. So we've had a couple of days in Spain, and then we've had a couple of days in Malta, and then I'm back to the UK today. So
And how are you feeling about this?
Very good. Yeah, it's been a very productive week, to be fair. So it's been good fun. But looking forward to sleeping in my own bed for the first time in about 8 days.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Man of the world, John.
And Kai, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And where are you based?
I'm based here in Malta. I've been here for 5 years now.
5 years?
Before that, I was also in the UK, although I wouldn't call it the UK. It's the Isle of Man.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so I was there for a couple of years. And being South African,
Yes.
I missed the sun, I missed the sea. And
Tell me about this.
so no-brainer to come to Malta.
Oh, I totally understand you.
Yeah.
I had no knowledge about this island before I started to
Yeah.
work in iGaming, and even though it existed.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I have some British friends that didn't even know where to locate the Isle of Man island.
Do you know what? I'm not being.
Don't put a map in front of John.
I was going to say. This film. I'm not 100% sure. I could put it in on a map, but you know.
Right? I found out. I think it's between Ireland and the UK somewhere.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Yeah.
But
Irish Sea.
perfect spot
Yeah.
for the high volume of rain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, lovely spot. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful part of the UK, but yeah, don't put a map in front of John. We've had many business trips where we've had to take let's just say the long road
Yes.
to get there because John's geography is a bit questionable.
Yes.
We've certainly had some long train rides.
Yes. So guys, for the audience, they probably don't know, but before any of these sessions, we have some sort of preparation, conversations taking places. For those who live in Malta, we just had the pleasure of having breakfast at the Compass next door. And we started talking about what we would discuss today or debrief. But one key term that came across is don't make me think. I think that might be the word or the key takeaway that we maybe would want to communicate forward to the audience.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start with you maybe, Kai, because this is something that seemed to have resonated with you when it comes to the user experience that you put the emphasis on for the games that you guys develop.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit what it is that you emphasize and look at when you are developing games?
So I think the "Don't make me think" tagline or expression is something that's super applicable to our journey as a company and indeed to the industry as a whole, and it applies as well to both games and product development. And I speak in product development in the scope of engagement tools technology. Kalamba's been around for a couple of years now, but we had many years as what you would classify as a startup. Coming into a highly competitive market, the supplier side of the industry is incredibly saturated, as we know.
Yes.
Players have more games than they can play. Operators have more games than they could possibly launch. And so you've got to come into that competitive market with some kind of edge and USP. And for us, that has been our engagement technology. And one of the key intrinsic successes of that technology has been this idea of, okay, well, how do you make it as simple as possible? And, this mantra of don't make me think, or in this case, don't make the player think.
Yeah.
The user journey and the user experience is paramount to the success of that. So you've got to come in with some kind of USP. Everyone builds games, and most of the suppliers build decent quality games, right? In Kalamba, we build very good games. Our games are what you would classify as, classic Vegas-style slots. But there's a lot of companies that build slots that are like that, right? So how do you differentiate your product? Engagement tools is a great way to do that, right? So you talk about USP and simplicity. We went into the market knowing that we had to differentiate ourselves, as I said. So what we did was we developed this technology from the very beginning with this idea of making it as intuitive as possible for the player.
Yes.
And intuitive is really the kind of like the crux of this is you don't want the player to think. You want to put a product in front of them, and then very quickly they're able to establish how to play the game or how does this engagement tool work and what's the benefit to them and how they're going to win. So right off the bat, that product development was made with that in mind. And if you look at the engagement technology, what we call the promotion panel, what you see is what you get. Very simple, very intuitive. You've got the prize pool, you've got the number of prizes available, you've got the time, the duration, prizes won. This is not rocket science, it's simple stuff. Now, we had this fantastic product, okay, and it really is unique. What we needed to figure out is, okay, well, how do you sell a product like that in a market where there's lots of products, right? So we'll start off with cash drops. Cash drops is nothing new, and we're not reinventing the wheel. But what we did was develop it in a way that it is unique, okay? And we did that based on 3 core principles, or what I would call, selling points, right? And the first and most obvious is that our engagement tools don't require an API to integrate.
Indeed.
They're built in the game.
Yes.
So right off the bat, that's usually what an operator asks you. If you go
So
to
here you're talking about two aspects, right? The first aspect is the approach that you take when you develop the games.
Yes.
And enhance it from the perspective of a player.
Yes.
And now you're talking about how you can enhance the implementation of the game from the perspective of the operator.
Yeah, exactly. So you build the product with USP and UX in mind from the beginning. You've got to make it simple and intuitive for the player. Right, that's done. Tick.
Yeah.
Now you've got a product that works. It's intuitive, it's simple, and it does what it says on the can, so to speak. You've got the product. How do you sell it?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to the operator, and again, I come, as we spoke about earlier at breakfast, I come from a product background where the operator is really concerned primarily about 2 things. How much work is this going to take me?
Indeed.
How many resources do I have to allocate to make this project work, to integrate this tool? If you go to the operator and you say right off the bat, you don't need to do anything, that's already a foot in the door.
Absolutely.
So this idea of no API, no integration required, that's a massive selling point for us.
Yes.
So again, this technology is built in the game, and it was specifically done that way because we know how difficult it is to sell these products in the market. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and equally as important, is all of our engagement tools are what we call self-funded. In other words, there is no marketing spend required, no upfront investment required from the operator, whether in time or resources from them or from us.
Yes.
And we'll go into the mechanics of that a little bit later because I just want to stay on track about the USP. So no time to integrate, no resource to integrate, doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Those 2 things right off the bat are super simple and effective ways to get an operator's attention. And it's part of the reason why we saw such a prolific adoption of this technology very early on, right? Once we had the idea of what these USPs were.
Yeah.
The third is automatic payouts. Now, another thing when you talk about promotions and engagement technology, and indeed any kind of promotion, this is not just unique to the gaming business, but this idea of manual consolidation of invoicing, it's a headache. It takes a lot of different people to be involved in it, a lot of resourcing, and a lot of the times there's human error. So you have to have automatic payouts, right? We want it to be a seamless solution. The player wins, the player gets the winnings credited to their wallet straight away. Very simple. And again, all of this is measurable and tracked. So if the operator ever feels that they want some kind of validation or proof point, we have all of that.
We spoke about this.
The data is all available. So when we talk about this idea of don't make me think, let's just reduce that to just keep it simple. It's build a simple product that's intuitive, find a way to sell it simply, and make the operator's life as easy as possible.
Indeed.
Again, John, because we've been doing this for a while, how inundated these operators are. Take my game, take my product. Well, why? Why should I? I've got 10 other suppliers saying the same thing, selling the same stuff. What makes you different? So you have to have that USP that gets the attention of the operator. And that's just the first part of it. You then have to actually prove it, right?
Yeah. Indeed.
So you've got to build a test case for it. You've got to substantiate all of this pitch that you've given to them. Now you've got to get the campaigns to do that. But as we found very quickly, we established that, okay, these tools work. And they work very well. So on average, we were talking about metrics and performance metrics, right? I'm not going to go to an operator and just say, trust me, bro. Take my word for it. It's like, no, I've got to substantiate this to you.
Yes.
I have to substantiate everything to you because we're here to make money and we're here to shrink KPIs. That's
Indeed.
So we look at turnover, we look at GGR, players, average bet, all of these key metrics. Universally, every one of these campaigns has produced a positive uplift in turnover.
Yep.
Now, GGR is a variable that fluctuates, obviously, so you can't control that in its entirety.
Yep.
So what we're looking at is primarily turnover in players.
Yep.
And every single one of these campaigns, and we're talking about hundreds of campaigns now. Remember, we started running these promotions about 2.5 years ago. Universally, they have produced uplift. And on average, it varies between, I want to say like 300 to 400% uplift in turnover per campaign. That's on the median.
Yes.
On the high end, it's upwards of 2,000, 3,000%. So these campaigns have made a massive difference in our growth trajectory as a company.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I mean, John, I think you can speak to the next point is, so engagement technology is one part of it, then you still have to have games that work and games that perform. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a good transition. The one thing I wanted to ask is, what is it that makes Kalamba Games or positions Kalamba Games in such a way that it allows you to address those USPs really easily in comparison to some of your competitors? How do you explain this? Why aren't the others doing similar things to you? Are they capable of, or what's preventing them from following suit, basically?
I think that's a good question, and I think the key thing here is keeping it simple is incredibly complicated, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, and I think it all goes back with certainly with Kalamba Games in terms of the plan initially. So Kalamba Games, I think, is 8 years old. Not too distant future. But when it started, Alex and Steve had these ideas right from the beginning. Now, yes, things take time. It takes time to get to that position. So like I said, keeping it simple is very complicated. The products that we offer, there are similar products on the market, but none of them do exactly what our products do, which is really important. And I think, and then the other element of it, as Kai mentioned, is it's about the games as well. You can have the best promotional tools in the world, but if your games are still not, are appealing to players and engaging for players, it's still not going to work, and you're not going to get the performance that Kai mentioned there. So, and again, in terms of our game development, a huge amount of work goes into that, but not to reinvent the wheel. We discussed this.
Yes.
We discussed this over coffee and an omelette.
Indeed.
But it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about taking successful mechanics and just making those small tweaks to see how you can improve them even further. And it's like I said, on the as we were discussing earlier, it's like those successful TV series. They always have a core
Yes.
of the they have the core people in it, and then every new series they just bring a couple more characters in that further enhance it, and then that's how it works, and that's how our that's how we approach our game development. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of work being done on how we can reinvent the wheel. So
Yes.
we're not in reinventing the wheel, but at the same time we're looking at ways that we can enhance an already very successful mechanic and improve it even further. And again, this goes, and it's touching back on what Kai was saying, is that what it enables us to do is a player will go into a Kalamba game, and invariably they'll have a good understanding of how they can win,
Yes.
what they're looking for in the game, which for me as a simple slot player is really important.
Yeah.
Now I know that there are players that like to have a bit more of a complicated approach, but certainly from our perspective, we think that players want to be entertained, and they want to understand how they're being entertained as soon as possible. So
Yes.
the combination of players understanding and knowing our games, coupled with very, very compelling and simple promotional tools in terms of understanding it, that's the recipe for success that we've had so far, really.
I would ask, so with the emergence of AI, for example, and we had discussed this before our breakfast, are you more of the mentality of the approach of developing more of the same games because, if you want to keep it simple, if you want to have pretty much the same user experience, maybe you can slightly change the skin, slightly change some of the features, not disrupt what it is that the players are used to playing when they play with your games. So is the philosophy of higher volume of games developed by AI something that you would embrace, or would you rather than perfect and adjust the games that you already have to make them even better? See where I'm going?
I understand where you're going, and I think as the guys will know, I'm not technically minded.
I need to bring AI to the table because everyone's talking about it. It's there.
It is absolutely there. But and look, we obviously use it in terms of some of our communications and how we engage with operators. But I think that. But the key thing for me at the moment with AI, and as I said, I'm no technical guru. At the moment, it's only as good as the information you put into it. You put the right information into it, it will give you some outstanding outputs.
Yes.
Now, what we have got at the moment is we've got an outstanding team of developers in Poland, in Krakow.
Yep.
We've got huge amounts of insight in terms of, individual game performances across individual markets. So, from the standard metrics that everyone will know, and then, but sort of day-to-day player loyalties. So all of that information then goes into the decision-making process and obviously the game development planning and that we have in place. We then add in engagement with operators.
Yes.
We regularly have meetings with operators.
Understand what they want.
Absolutely. So all this information goes into the planning of our I suppose our game roadmap. Now, can AI deliver that? I'm sure if we put all the information into AI, then it probably would be able. I'm sure it would add considerable value, but you've still got to put the information in initially. So I think is there an opportunity for that to enhance? I'm sure there is. I'm not the right person to ask that, if I'm brutally honest.
But it's fine if you speak your mind. This is still an unknown territory. There are different mindsets when it comes to AI, I would say. Not that I want to take a strong stand when it comes to the topic, but it's still in a sort of
it's a great
discovery mode at the moment.
It's a fantastic tool.
I think it fits under that category of what we were speaking about earlier. It's just the buzzword of innovation, right? One of the challenges in our industry is we're a heavily regulated industry. It's very difficult to innovate in that space. Now, it's not impossible, but it's certainly difficult, especially if you're operating in regulated markets. One of the things that I always have a concern about is you typically get, and this, this applies to lots of companies and lots of industries, but when you find something that works, and we have found our kind of content strategy, so to speak, you've got to, as a company, you have to make money, right? So you tend to focus on the things that make you money. Now, the risk of that is long-term, what you don't want is a situation where one day a player wakes up and they don't recognize your content anymore because the industry has evolved. Or, it's like you've done something that worked for so long. And I think this is, we're all guilty of this in the industry, is we find something that works and this is the trend, and this has been the trend for the last 3 years, so everyone's riding that wagon, right? The best way to go about it, in my opinion, and we talk about AI, which falls under that innovation category, is it's a simple reallocation of resources where you say, okay, well, 70% of our budget is going to go towards what we know works. Then we'll put another 30% into experiential projects, experimental projects. And that AI subject falls under that, right? So, and we do that to some extent. So we have our standard network roadmap, and those are games that, as John mentioned, we've found what our niche is, right? We know what games resonate with our players, and I'd say we're on a really good trajectory with those games, and they're making us money. It's great, so everyone is happy. Then we have the scope of innovation where we allocate, not necessarily all the budget, but innovation takes a lot of time and resourcing. So whatever you give to innovation, you're taking away from your roadmap that makes you money.
Indeed.
However, it's still a very important thing to do because you have to be constantly evolving and not necessarily trying to find the next best thing, but finding things that can, again, iterations that can make you just that little bit better. You don't need to reinvent the wheel and come up with this like kind of silver bullet solution. What you need to be doing is constantly evolving in iterations. So, the AI technology, that's something certainly that should be something we look at to experiment with and see, okay, well, how can this help us? Is it a resourcing thing? Does it allow us to scale back resourcing by X%? Is it a time thing? Does it save us time by Y%? And that's really where that sits, is you can have a multi-pronged strategy when it comes to content. The same thing applies to markets. You might say, okay, well, our games are doing really well in this market, but we can't figure out what's happening with this market. Let's allocate budget to innovation for that market to figure out what kind of mechanic do we need there to be successful.
Yep.
You can't be successful at it all, right? So, and that's something that I think we're quite good at, is we understand that you can't be everywhere all at once. You know, there's certain things that you're going to do well, and certain markets that you're going to do well in, and certain player bases that are going to resonate well with your games. To spread yourself too thin is also a risk in itself.
Yep.
So innovation, but not at the expense of function.
You're talking about multiple markets and perhaps different needs, different habits, etc. So what sort of importance do you give to personalization of your games? Is this something you would like to answer?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and again, it's something that, excuse me, it's something that we'll be developing even further, I think, as we move into 2026. So, as I said, there's a huge amount of analysis that goes into the game performance, and one of those elements is how does it perform in each of the markets that we operate in. And on the basis of that, we will obviously the future game development will be determined on that basis. And touching on Kai's point, is sometimes it can be the genre of the game. So the mechanic can be successful and be a really good mechanic, but the theme in one market will work fantastically well, but it might not resonate in another market. Yes. And so again, one of the things that we've had conversations with our colleagues in tech before is saying, well, how do we get to a point where we have the same mechanic, but we actually release different theme games in different markets depending on what resonates in those particular markets? So the core game is the same, it's just the theme that's different. But you do it at the same time, so it's not just like a reskin. This is the launch. You pick your theme and which you think is going to work best in your market. So that's things that we do. Just picking up on the AI stuff. I'm pretty sure that the tech guys will probably be shouting through the screen at the moment, going, "We do this. We do."
Don't be comfortable with this.
Absolutely. We do this, or we're doing it. And again, and this is why I just wanted, I think the key point from our perspective is that, from a commercial side, we understand the value of it and we use it, and I've absolutely got no doubt in my mind that our tech guys are all over it. They know, that they will be using it. It's just that we don't know how they use it. So it's not
in a game capacity, though. I mean, we've not really explored that, But I think going back to the previous question now about the point of kind of customizing and making a unique offering.
Right.
If we go back to the engagement technology, that's also been a very core focus of that. We don't build campaigns in a one-size-fits-all approach, and we're not trying to shoehorn an operator into something that we want them to take. We're very much focused on customizing the experience for the operator and the players.
Yep.
So, one operator might want to have a certain campaign duration. They want to run campaigns every Thursday and Friday weekly. Another one might want long-form campaigns because that resonates more with their player base.
Yes.
Especially on the network campaigns, that's difficult to do because it's obviously across the entire network with lots of operators. So you have to have some kind of structure to that. Like universal structure. But with the local campaign, certainly we customize it based on the needs of that operator because they know their players best.
Yeah.
Who am I to go and tell them how the campaign should look? I'm going to go and defer to their judgment. And it's the same thing with games as well. I mean, we tend to sometimes overcomplicate things, and over innovation is also a thing.
Indeed.
Where you're trying to think ahead and sometimes too much. And it's going back to the simple things, the topic that we started this conversation with. A great example is our hold and win games.
Mm-hmm. So, I was going to come to this, yes.
So, we've been building hold and win games for the longest time.
Yeah.
And with a particular tier 1 operator in a particular market, we just couldn't get any traction. And we couldn't understand it because these are good games.
Yes.
The mechanic is there, they're tested. And anyway, I go and meet this operator and I just say, hey, what do you want? What do you want us to build for you? Because what we're doing is not working. And it was the quickest meeting I've ever had. Basically, the casino manager said, oh, your games are great. You just haven't put hold and win on the thumbnail. So players don't know it's a hold and win game. And their players only play hold and win.
Indeed.
Now you think that that's something so simple, and it's like, well, of course you bet. But
yes,
as you're developing as a studio, trying to build your identity, trying to build continuity with your, what is your brand? Some of these things are not so simple. And then you try and overcomplicate it by calling a hold and win something else. Indeed. When really what you should just do is tell the player what's inside the can. Write it on the label.
Indeed.
Very simple. And that's a tiny iteration, a small tweak that completely changed the trajectory of that partnership.
Indeed.
And that's just one example. And I use it because it's such a simple example. It seems so obvious now. But at the time it didn't, because we were trying to over-innovate. We were trying to name things to be clever and to be unique and call, we won't call it a buy bonus, we'll call it a hyper bonus. Well, why not just call it a buy bonus? Because that's what it is.
Yes.
If it's a hold and win game, say it's a hold and win game and slap a big golden badge on there, because that's what that particular player base wanted. That particular brand, their players love hold and win. And that's a great example of, again, keeping it simple, also not over-innovating. And also, it's a great example of having a customized strategy for one operator, because that's what they want. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to presume and go in there and tell them what they want. We're going to ask them questions. We're going to find out what their player base is and what their player base wants, because they are the experts. They're the ones dealing directly with the players, not us. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times suppliers tend to build what they think the market wants, not what the market actually wants.
I like this mindset because, during our breakfast, we also spoke about talent, background, experiences. And here you're just giving a clear example of a conversation that you had with one of the operators that gave you valuable insights as to how you can enhance the experience of the player for them, right? Mm-hmm. Where does this mindset come from within your company's DNA? Is it due to the fact that, for example, the two of you come from a different background? Do you look into talent that have this sort of other perspectives mindset? Or what do you think you could do to enhance this even more? Because this little detail made a huge difference. How could you enhance that even further? Is it through talent?
I think, speaking to culture, one of the things that I'm very proud of at Kalamba is we have a culture of total transparency. You can't get to these truths without being honest and transparent. You have to look at yourself critically, and everyone is accountable. So transparency and accountability. If you don't have a culture of that, how can you answer these questions? Because if you don't have that, then it's kind of like, well, whose fault is it that we didn't do this? Or, who can I blame this on? Yeah. Firstly, we're kind of flat structure as well. Mm-hmm. So everyone is entitled to an opinion. Everyone is entitled to ask a question. And I think that as the foundation, and that has very much been set by our founders, Alex and Steve, so all credit to them for that. But you have to have transparency and accountability, and then you can start to have difficult discussions or easy discussions, but you need to have that as the basis, right? In terms of the people, I think, John and I both come from outside of the gaming industry. I think, personally speaking, in my personal capacity, that served me very well, because I haven't come in here with predetermined ideas and concepts of what the industry is. And I feel like that's been an advantage to me, because I can come in with a different perspective. And I think that's certainly helped my career, because, coming from media, also media and advertising, highly competitive. Yep. You're constantly pitching to win business. You're pitching to very big brands, global brands. And you're also used to rejection a lot, right? And you have to pivot. As well. True, yes. So you've got to have thick skin. You've got to go in there. But the biggest thing that served me from that industry is understanding how to sell something. What is the USP? Yes. If you've got 30 seconds to convince someone, what are you going to tell them, right? So, and I think a lot of our people, we do have people that have come from outside the business, and that's helped us. But certainly maintaining that culture is incredibly important as you grow and become successful as a company. And we are now starting to see the fruits of our labor, which is fantastic. But that also comes with its own challenges: scalability, bringing on more people. Can they fit in with that culture as you grow? And to do that at scale is difficult.
Yeah, because as you grow, then you need maybe to put structure around the culture, so that you can keep on getting those insights that you are able to get very quickly, given the fact that you are very flat at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe given the size.
Well, as
you keep
a
growing,
small company, you've got to wear multiple hats, right? So you're moving very quickly,
Yeah.
you're innovating quickly, you are fixing your solutions are implemented as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Because you just don't have the luxury of waiting too long. And
Indeed.
And I think, yeah, just picking up on that point, I think one of the things that we have focused on, particularly over the last 12 months, is putting those processes in place and the processes are in place, but documenting the processes, so that as the team expands, which we want it to do, we're able to, I suppose, foster the mentality that we want and present the mentality that we want at Kalamba Games, in a more sort of, I suppose, structured approach than. In the past, there's been a huge amount of work over the last, 3-4 years, particularly. I mean, from the beginning, the work was phenomenal, but certainly at the growth trajectory that we've achieved over the last couple of years. And it's about consolidating that and then looking at how we can then take it forward. And then I think a couple of the key things that, and Kai's done a phenomenal job on this, is that what we're trying to do at Kalamba is, as you say, we empower our team.
Yeah.
We also give them clear, we give them clear instructions in terms of what we are looking for from them, how they approach that. We want their personality to come out, but we try to give clear and instructions in terms of these are what we believe are the performance levers. So these are the things that we want you to focus on. And then I think the key thing for me, and again, it's sort of as Kai mentioned previously, is we listen. I think in my very early career, as a business development manager, as you can see, I can talk for England, and I had a sort of pivotal moment where I went into a meeting, and it was an hour meeting, and I think I was talking for 50 minutes of it, and unsurprisingly, I was a lot younger then, but and unsurprisingly, I didn't get the deal. And so I sort of sat back and thought, actually, I need to do a lot more listening. And I think what we have done we have quarterly review meetings, and really what we treat that as an opportunity for the operators to tell us what they're looking for, what's working for them. And and the example that Kai gave, that just came about from asking a question.
Yes.
And then listening to the answer, and then taking the answer and then implementing, that answer. And yes, it sounds simple. But believe you me, and like I said, I've made the mistake myself, is that sometimes you can be so focused on what your objective in the meeting is, which is to get a position, sell a product, whatever, that you actually forget to ask the person they want to give
what that person needs.
And they'll give you 9 times out of 10, they'll give you the answer.
It's amazing you saying this, because I was telling you earlier, and I mean, I don't want to preach for myself, but we started a business about 2 years ago, and some of them that are part of the business are salespeople.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons I get is from one of my business partners. I like to talk a lot too.
Yeah.
I'm here.
We all do. Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
But the one lesson he gave me, and I'm telling you, he's got a lot of media experience and selling different tech, is this exact same comment as the one you just made. Just let them talk.
Yeah.
And then after this, you know exactly what they want, and you just focus on this, because that's the key element. So you're just preaching for something that I believe in. Not that I knew that, but you're confirming this.
And it is tough. And I think the other thing, I think the key thing as well, and we always have this approach, is that we do want to try new things.
Yeah.
And the guys have got full, authority to do that. And if it works, it's on them. If it doesn't work, it's on me and Kai. That's it. That's how it works.
Indeed.
So
accountability.
Yeah, and then that enables them to feel confident to try a promotion, do a deal, whatever that may well be, which is always what we want to do, because it is a competitive market. There's a lot of fantastic products out there. We're on a good trajectory at the moment. Really enjoying it.
And it's synergy between product and commercial is a big thing as well. Again, it goes back to that transparency and honesty. We're in a position now where we work so well and effectively as 2 different teams. Not only are we separated in skill set, but also geographically. Our guys our DevOps are in Poland.
Yes.
And our commercial team is in Malta. Now that makes sense, obviously.
Yes.
Given the proximity to our client base, but to create a synergy between those 2 teams is not easy to do, and a lot of companies get that wrong. And I don't want to be corny, but it comes to this idea of, okay, well, we are a team. We have different objectives, we're doing different jobs, but the end goal is exactly the same.
Yes.
The end goal is what's best for Kalamba. Now, how are you going to do your job as effectively as possible to get us to that? And how am I going to do my job? And how can we support each other and figure out like what's working, what's not working? Dispense with all egos and all personal agendas, because there's no place for that in our company. And as long as we can maintain that culture, that sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thank you very much for your time today. We had so much to talk about that I think that one session would not be enough. I think we started it for breakfast. I mean, at breakfast, came here and do not seem to want to stop the conversation.
When's lunch arriving? Is it coming yet?
You're gonna miss your flight.
No, I mean, to be honest, I really enjoyed our conversation yesterday. I said to Gareth we could have recorded that. It was a really good fun.
That's it. So on that note, the good news is that we're gonna have another session. So we're gonna have to continue. This ends this first session. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to the audience for listening to us. Off to session number 2 that's going to come up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.